Welcome, everybody. We are back with our next podcast, and here at the Connecticut Burns Care Foundation, the Champions Podcast. I am so happy you could join us again. This is, again, going to be a continuing series to keep you informed, to keep you up to date on what we're doing, just to say hi, to give you our recent thoughts, and to bring you in on anything else that we might be doing that's exciting for all of our champions out there. Today, I have a very special guest who is a good friend of mine, a colleague, and he's the first vice president on our board of directors of the Connecticut Burns Care Foundation, and he's also involved with a wonderful 501c3 called Angel Ride, which we will get to a little bit later. But first, allow me to introduce to you the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Andy Pandiani. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for such a kind introduction.
It's very easy when you are as good as you are. So, Andy, I wanted to thank you very much for joining us today, and I wanted to say that it has been a pleasure that since I'm the new, sort of still, executive director, that you've come in and really have mentored me, and you're really teaching me the ropes to make sure I can produce the best I can be for the children. And I do appreciate you with that because you're a good friend. And I really am blessed to have you in my life. So, Andy, first thing I'd like to ask, because I believe you have so many years of experience, tell us how many years, and then why don't you tell us, what does the Connecticut Burns Care Foundation mean to you?
Oh, wow. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. And I actually got involved in 2004. My daughter was injured in 2001, and she attended the camp in 2002. And once I saw really truly the magic that the burn camp did for my daughter, I was like, wow, I have to be involved in this in some way, you know. And I'm just getting goosebumps right now.
You know? Goosebumps.
And I do think, you know, some causes find you, right? Unfortunately, a very good friend of mine was injured in a burn injury. He was a lineman for Northeast Utilities, you know.
Okay.
A couple of years before Kelsey was injured, so I had no idea that the Bridgeport Hospital even had a burn unit, you know. Right. And that's how I found out, was visiting my friend there. He fully recovered, you know. He's got scars and the like, but he's fully recovered. Good. And a couple of years later, my daughter was injured, you know. Right. And as she therapeutically became better, like wounds were healed and the like, you know, she definitely was preoccupied. You know, at some point as a 7 or 8 year old kid, you see these scars not going away, and you start to realize that, you know, you're going to have to do something about them. And it's very, it hurts their confidence a lot, you know. So her burn doctor, actually, Dr. Fiddler, said, hey, I think your daughter should go to the burn camp. And I'm like, what is that? You know. And he said, you know, it's a camp. All the kids go free of charge. All the kids have a life-changing burn injury. No one stares at their scars. They just go and have fun. And it's a place where they can relax and be themselves. There are so many powerful stories that you find at camp. And I can tell you one because I know the camper really well, right? That's my daughter, Kelsey.
Right.
And when she first went to the burn camp, she was 8 years old. And she's got some pretty significant scars on her arm and on her side. You know, she would ask me, you know, why did this happen to me? You know?
Yeah.
And you try to answer that question, you know, honey, people have accidents sometimes when you're young, sometimes when you're older. You know, you ask your minister, how can I answer this question? You ask the social worker, how can I answer this question? But the question would come back, you know. So whatever the answer was that we had, it wasn't really answering her question. You know, about the same time, she went to the burn camp for the very first time. And she could see, you know, I'm not the only person this happened to. I'm not alone. And so she went back to school. You know, this camp happens in the summer, so September she's going back to school. And she says to my wife, hey, Mom, I think I'm going to wear a T-shirt to school tomorrow. Well, so if Kelsey wears T-shirts, then you can see her scars, right? Wow. And so Lynn says, you can wear whatever you want, honey, that's fine. But keep in mind, people will see your scars, and they might ask about them. And if you don't really want to talk about them, and she said, you know, Mom, I thought about that, and I spoke to the teacher, and the teacher and I decided that I should just get up in front of the class and give people a rough idea of what happened and let them ask all their questions and just move on from there. 9 years old, right? So where does a 9-year-old get the strength to do that? Right. And that's something she learned at the burn camp. If the only thing that the burn camp did was just to provide this safe place where the kids could just be themselves and not worry about being stared at, it would be worth every penny. But the reality is it does a lot more, because the younger kids can see some of the older kids, and they can see, just because they have had this injury, it doesn't define them. There's someone who's got scars, they've got a boyfriend, or there's someone who's got scars, they've got a great job or a wife, and they can see that it's possible to get beyond the injury. It takes some time for them to kind of get there, but it truly is magical when you see it get there.
I truly agree, because although I'm new to this, how many years have you been involved altogether with this?
Oh, you asked me that, didn't you?
Yes.
I think I started in 2004.
2004, okay,
right?
Wonderful.
So we're coming up on 20, not quite.
Well, believe me, it doesn't show. It doesn't show at all, my friend.
Oh, I had a lot darker hair when they started, but, you have teenagers, you get white hair.
But I think the rest of it was caused by me when I took the job.
Maybe a little.
Although you have so much more years of experience than I do, I can share one thing with you, and that's that magic. Because when I first went to the camp 3 years ago and introduced to it, I told the story already, it brought me to my knees. And it was an experience I'll never be able to duplicate again. So it's very, very special. So that I can share with you, although I'm sort of still new to the whole experience. Another question about the CBCF. Where do you feel that where would you like to see this go in the next few years?
Well, I guess in some ways it's pretty simple, right? We want to make sure that we have programs for prevention, right? Because we don't want you to get burned, right? And so keeping you from having an accident or getting burned is important to us, And if you do have an accident and you unfortunately do get seriously burned, we really want there to be a world-class facility nearby, so that your family can go there and you can recover.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And as we were just talking about, some of the recovery is physical, and some of the recovery really requires some peer support. And so we want to be there for you after.
Unfortunately, we cannot eradicate burns, nor can we cure them. So they're always going to be here, unfortunately. And that means we can never shut these doors. So that's why we continue to grow. We continue to care, outreach, resource, and give education. The core. And that's why we have to, because unfortunately burns are never going to go away. So we want to be here for those children. So I appreciate that. So let's move on. I want to ask you about something else that you do that I think is phenomenal. And this also, I believe, includes your wife, who is absolutely a sweetheart, Lynn Pandiani. And I got a chance to sit down with your wife and really learn about this 501c3 that you do on the side besides CBCF. And it is phenomenal, and I'm proud to say I'm going to get my first experience this year. But would you tell us all about this wonderful 501c3 called Angel Ride?
Yeah, absolutely. So Angel Ride is a group of people that are compassionate and caring, and they like to physically challenge themselves and do some good, all in the same activity.
And they challenge themselves.
So Angel Ride sponsors a charity bike ride, and it's a metric century, 62 miles.
Wow.
And, 100 kilometers, right?
Wow.
And we do have a half a metric century version if you don't want to spend that much time on the bike seat.
And just to make it very clear, I'll be at the table hosting, saying hello. I am not riding the bike. You will, though, right? You're an avid bike rider.
Indeed. Thanks for saying that that you'll be there, because it's so important. When you have a ride like that, you have a lot of volunteers. Things that Angel Ride is really known for as far as the quality of the ride itself. It's very well supported, you know. We keep track of the riders. I've been on some rides where, like, you know, if you finish, no one's really looking to see if you finished, right? We look to see that you finished. Want to make sure you're okay.
You're okay. Where are they?
Yeah, right. If your bike broke down, if you had a wreck or whatever, we're going to look out for you. And then also, I think the other thing that's really special about it is the group of people themselves are just so committed to doing good, you know. Angel Charities for years did a lot of great things up at Newman's Camp, and they really accomplished what they set out to accomplish up there, and they were looking for a new organization to help, and that's how we met them. And at the time, we had no idea that they were looking to retire. My wife said, "Oh, I'll pick that up and run with it," you know. And she does that all out of the goodness of her heart, you know, to put together that ride. But there's a lot of work and it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of really great people. You'll find the ride is super well supported, and we also like it to be challenging. You know, some rides that they keep it right along the shoreline. There's not many hills, right? But remember what I said: people like to be challenged. So there'll be about 4,800 vertical feet in this ride.
My legs just hurt you saying that. I was sitting here going, "Ow!" But yeah, that's very challenging. And back to your wife, you come to Angel Ride, which I encourage all of you to start coming to our events because you're a big part of that. You are a very major part of that, and there is a new day that we now want to include you. So you need to come out. When people get to meet your wife and see the constitution, her spirit, her heart, instantly you know that is going to be a day you won't forget if you come on out.
That's true.
I really mean that.
It's true. And you know, when Lynn introduces herself in that capacity, she says, "Burn Camp Mom, Angel Ride board member," because that's really where her heart is to say, like, you know, look at this good work that we can do together.
Right.
And it really inspires her. The group of people at Angel Ride also are they're all so kind and so compassionate. They are very inspiring people too. So it's a wonderful group.
It really is. Now, Andy, I want to ask you. Now, we need, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I am, we would like to have riders.
Yes.
Bike riders,
yes,
to come out and join us to do this ride. And you said you can either do, tell us again how far they can do half or full. And also, if you don't mind, could you give us the information, how do they get in touch with Angel Ride to sign up to be a part of our big day? And would you tell our folks out there all about that?
Absolutely. So if you want to join us for Angel Ride, it's a metric century, 62 miles, right? 100 kilometers. And there's also a 35-mile version, which is right around 50 kilometers. And the route's a figure 8, and it's always the Saturday before Memorial Day. We'll start at 8 a.m. at the Essex Firehouse, it should be a terrific time. And you can join either the half a century or the full century, and we have another way you can participate too, and that's you can do it remotely. And so if you want to do it remotely, you can sign up and ride in your own neighborhood. And actually, some of our volunteers will play a game with you. We're actually going to deal you a card for every 12 miles you ride. And it turns into be a little bit of a poker run. And if you win, we'll donate $1,000 to the Burn Camp in your honor. So people will participate all over the country. In fact, I think we had a couple people from Ireland last year participating, which was fun, too. Obviously, they started a little earlier in the day than we did because they got a head start time-wise. And if everything goes according to plan, you know, all the money that we raise, everything goes to the Children's Burn Camp. And we should make a really nice gift and do something terrific for the kids with that money.
Andy, I can't thank you enough. That means so much to us, and Angel Ride means a lot to us. And so do you and your wife and your daughter. And I want to thank you so much for coming out here today to give us that. And I also want to remind all of you, if you want, Andy just gave you all that information, but also don't hesitate to call us or reach out to us on all of our social media at www.ctburnsfoundation.org, or give us a call here at the office. It's all on our website. We would be glad to give you all the information. Remember, I'm going to be there. We're going to be there. It's going to be a day to remember. You're going to have a lot of fun because there's going to be music, there's going to be food, there's going to be people there having a good time for a good cause. Andy, I can't thank you enough for being here. You mean a lot to me, and I can't thank you enough for all you're doing for me, making me a better executive director for these kids. And please tell me you would come back and do another podcast with us.
I'd be most happy to.
Absolutely, and that's what makes us great, and I can't thank you enough. Guys, I can't thank you enough. I'm Dominic Mantuano. This is the Champions Podcast, and we'll catch you next time on The Rebound.